yeah, I also didn't think that I would get invited to the War Within Alpha, but here we are. And Preservation has a ton, and I mean a ton of wonderful changes from the spec tree, yes, the spec tree, all the way to both our hero tree talents, which are fantastic. Both trees are looking good, and I have nothing but good news for raiders, M+ players, and then anyone who likes Blossom build in dungeons, anyone who likes the Echo build in raid, it doesn't matter. We are all eating. So without any further ado, my name is BowserTheHealer. If you like healing content, get subscribed. If you just like listening to me talk about WoW, hey, I appreciate you. And little disclaimer, and this will answer some questions that you might have, so it's pretty important. First of all, it's an alpha, so yes, not all the visuals are here, especially Flameshaper. Like, half of Flameshaper isn't working correctly, so I'm gonna try not to harp too much on the visuals, knowing that they're probably in progress, but some of the visuals look really good. That being said, there's also a ton of crashes. Like every time I walked into a dungeon, I crashed. Every time I left a dungeon, I crashed. Pretty fun. Also, there's some really funny numbers. Like for instance, the new living flame on Chronowarden, Chrono Flames, has a rounding error or something going on. And so I was able to hit, and you'll see footage of it, 100 million damage. Yeah, that's funny. It's not supposed to work that way, I promise you. They also gave us like the wrong gear. Evoker has like 200 level starting gear. Everyone else is like 400. They give us a little box of items to grab to, like, you know, get goodies for our adventure if we need anything. Infinitely repeatable. It only produces a staff and 2 trinkets. We've been, as Preheat said, fighting for our lives out here, but I wouldn't have it any other way. And in delves and in dungeons, we scale up appropriately, which leads me to another issue. A living flame went back to being the worst heal in the game again. And I was sort of like, what's going on here? Why does this feel so bad? Well, I also found Lynn Dormy, and if you talk to her, she asks you if you need directions to the Vortex Pinnacle. So I have a feeling this build might not be the most stable or have all of the changes from live. And because everything else felt so good in comparison, I'm going to assume this is an oversight and probably not a balancing issue. So try not to overthink the numbers. This is going to be mostly a theoretical look at it because, well, we can't really trust the numbers. The damage felt good though when I wasn't doing 100 million. Then it was broken. So that being said, let's get into it. Everything's subject to change, and there's a lot of cool talents to talk about. So first things first, let's get this out of the way. I didn't notice any changes on the Evoker tree. Nothing on the class side of things looks different. None of the values. I didn't look super hard, but it all felt, you know, right around where it is on live. The Preservation tree, on the other hand, has had an overhaul. So this top section is completely the same. This left side middle is totally the same. Right side middle is totally the same. Font of Magic and Power Nexus have been moved here. They're both 1-point talents, so to get your empowerment level and extra essence is right here. And then down below, we have a brand new red section, a reorganized bronze, and a reorganized green section. Of the changes, let's just go over the things that are changed and one thing that might be bugged. Timeless Magic now has Reversion, Time Dilation, Echo, and Temporal Anomaly costing 30% less mana and lasting 30% longer. This is a buff from retail right now, where on live, it's 20%. I'll take this nerf on the chin. This was my fault, I assume. Your healing is increased by 10% with targets with Reversion, 1 talent point for 10 points. That is stronger than 1 point on live, but weaker than the 15%, which means the upper bound was a 30% increased healing. Yeah, it's a little ridiculous. It definitely deserves the nerf, so I'll accept that. That's totally my bad. And then over here, Ouroboros is moved to here, making it a little more accessible for the green side of things. And Renewing Breath, when you put points into it, goes 15% into 15%. So either this is a bug or it's supposed to be nerfed and it isn't working. If it got nerfed, I actually wouldn't be shocked because there's a lot more Dream Breath love in Flameshaper. So I figured maybe that was intentional. For now, I'm not worried about it. Might just be a bug. So there's some brand new talents. Let's talk about them and then all the implications that come with it. Lifebind has not changed. Lifegiver's Flame is the same talent for 2 points at 1 point. So now you only need 1 point to get this. Kind of nice. It's also very easy to grab if you're in the green side of things. So if you want to pick up a damage heal as somebody playing majority green, it's that easy. Down here, Life Force Mender is the exact same, meaning it is still getting more powerful every single patch that comes out in this video game. And then 2 new talents. Titan's Gift, Essence Burst, increases the effectiveness of your next Essence ability by 25%. This means more disintegrate damage. This means more Emerald Blossom healing, and it adds to the percentage bonus healing on Echo, not an Echo's initial heal. Maybe it makes Echo's initial heal better. So this talent, very nice, but it's not like you need it if you weren't using this before, right? Like everything was working fine without this. So if you want to get rid of the point and use it somewhere else, you can. If you're like me and you like your damage, that's a nice pick. And it'll also help with a lot of cleave healing. So plenty of good there. Life Spark. This is just our tier set from season 4 and technically season 1. Just the part where Reversion has a chance to give you an instant cast Living Flame stacking up to 2 charges that is 50% stronger damage and healing. I could talk all day about this. It's one of my favorite parts about the tier set, and I was talking about how I wish this was a baseline part of the kit back in season 1. So to see it here makes me pretty happy, and there's actually a little more tier set love in our hero talents, so get ready for that. Now, what does this mean for preservation? Well, it actually means there's a lot of viable builds. A lot of things got a lot stronger because talents that were strong are technically easier to get to, and a lot of the choices you're making are at the bottom of the tree rather than in the middle of the tree. So I want to throw some ideas at you all. Start with Bronze Red. This idea came to me as sort of, I might be able to rip some points out of, say, like Titan's Gift to potentially get like Font of Magic if I need it. You can also throw some points and move like Grace Period or whatever you want over to get Time of Need. There's some options here, but because of Flow State and because of a move in here called Burning Adrenaline, what if you were playing this ultra fast, speedy, back-to-back empowered spells, back-to-back engulfs, the new move we have, introduce that with like Flow State and really get your moves rolling. You could probably even go Nosdormu's Teachings with this and get a lot of healing out of it. I don't think I want to get rid of Resonating Sphere in the Bronze build in particular, but you could, and I think it would work. I'll save that though for a different build I have, but this is heavy damage, good mana regen, and a lot of focus on your bronze skills. But what if you're like, Bowser, I'm so sick of your red spells. Please, get me off this damage stuff. Okay, you asked for it. How about a bronze green build? So you could take some points out of Flow State here in order to, say, move over to Dreamflight or Cycle of Life, but more on this one in a moment. This one focus on Exhilarating Burst and getting criticals and doing tons of Dream Breath healing. You could do a lot with this build just because you have so many heavy hitting hots and heavy hitting spells. Your blossoms are going to hit like a truck. You basically always have something in the bag that hits kind of hard. If you wanted to get rid of Nosdormu's Teaching on this one, or go for Nosdormu's Teaching, excuse me, on this one, I wouldn't blame you. I think that would work incredibly well and allow you to cycle through your breath spells a bit quicker and do more direct healing. Yeah, sure. I think it might work. Check this out, Blossom players. A heavy hitting build that works around Cycle of Life and Blossoms and all the good things they bring. But Titan's Gift is going to make them 25% stronger. There's a talent in here that's going to make 20% of the healing from your blossoms are also going to be done over 8 seconds. And then you're still going to have the boosted Ouroboros healing as well when you want to set up a really big blossom. There's so much here that works well together. And I just went down here for Energy Loop because I like mana, but you could even argue that you could remove these talents, maybe go for something like Life Giver's Flame. The possibilities here are kind of endless, and the best part is every build I showed you, I would confidently play in a dungeon. They all feel really impactful and really strong, and I think that's what we have to look forward to. I haven't touched the hero talents yet. There are so many more builds that just feel functional, that don't feel like they're giving up so much to do certain things. So down below in the comment section, if you want me trying something in particular in the alpha, I'd be more than happy to. Build something up for me and I'll give it a shot. You can just tell me what kind of talents to go for and I'll test them. But I think it's time we talked about those hero talents. Both of these trees are completely viable. Like, before I go through all their moves and how they work, I like them both. I think you will find that both of them will fit raid and M+ playstyles, as well as things like Blossom Enjoyers, Green Build Enjoyers, and Heavy Damage Enjoyers. So all of us are eating, and I want to start with Flameshaper. This new ability Engulf will heal or damage a target for a certain amount, but the more periodic effects, like damage effects or healing effects, like a heal over time or a damage over time, that's going to increase its effectiveness by 50%. So if you have a double Reversion and a double Dream Breath on a tank and you hit them with an Engulf, you will do some absolutely bonkers single target healing, and it feels excellent. And at a 30-second recharge and you get a maximum of 2 charges of this move, it feels really good. And we already talked about it in Kindle, but this will affect your damage on, say, your Disintegrate and the healing on your Blossom. It does affect Echo's initial cast, but it doesn't look like it affects Echo's like combo potential. So this one's mostly just for Disintegrate and Emerald Blossom. And then down here you have a choice node. Engulf can either reignite and kindle, extending its duration and effectiveness and increasing it to 100%, or Expanded Lungs, your fire breath and dream breath damage and healing over time respectively is increased by 20%. This maybe doesn't matter so much for the fire breath component, but for the dream breath component, that's a really big deal. And even a Blossom build enjoyer might not want to go fan the flames. Maybe they want to go Expanded Lungs to make their dream breath setups stronger while they're farming up essence for a big Emerald Blossom. Lots to think about. This talent, Draconic Instincts, looks like it's a bit more for raid, periodic healing kind of deal. Life Cinder seems to be a bit more M+ or PvP oriented, so you and a homie can have Renewing Blaze at the same time. I really like this. Burning Adrenaline is what allows you after Engulf to cast so quickly, 30% faster with 2 charges. Here is the second charge for Engulf, increasing its damage and throughput and all that stuff. This talent just makes your hover and your deep breath go 50% faster and further. Well, deep breath faster, hover further, and oh, my abilities, yeah, alpha problems, I'm so sorry. So you can like dash incredibly quickly. Very fun, very cool. I don't know if we need it, but I definitely enjoy it. Conduit of Flame just increases your crit chance when things are 50% health or higher. And then Titanic Precision increases your ability to get an Essence Burst by 100%. So that makes the 20% of 40%, the 15s of 30. I don't know if it's working. I still feel like I don't get Essence Burst all the time when I want it. Maybe my luck's bad, maybe it's not working. Who knows? I didn't try too hard. But then the big one, Consume Flame. When you hit Engulf on a Dream Breath, and dev players, by the way, this is the exact same text on Fire Breath, you eat 8 seconds of the Dream Breath, and then you'll heal everyone equal to 200% of the amount consumed, reduced beyond 5 targets. If you're quick with it, you can save people's lives, transfer the healing around, and burst heal people with your engulfs at a moment's notice. This allows a flexibility and an ease of play that, while the positioning side of it is harder, is going to allow even more combo potential. And a reminder, Engulf goes through Echo, so yes, you can combo this, and you're probably already thinking, wait a minute, I can do that in Raid? Yeah, you could do that in Raid. And then on the other side of the tree, Chronowarden. Chronowarden gives you a brand new Living Flame. This one has this cool little bronze effect to it that I think is unbelievably pretty, and is also super bugged right now. So it's supposed to just do 15% of damage and healing that was dealt to the target in the last 5 seconds gets repeated on the target up to an upper bound, which right now, again, seems like it's not working correctly, but trust me, when it is working correctly, it feels very nice. It heals and does a chunky amount of damage. It's a 10 out of 10 for me. Your hover this time is a warp. You continue to count as hovering, but you warp, so you can still warp in place, and you can warp in a direction. Takes some getting used to, and the talent I have lets you grab these motes, which make you faster for 30 seconds. Very cool stuff. It does take a little bit of getting used to, but I actually really like the blink. The other talent that doesn't drop the motes makes it so that you get a DR when you use it. So you can kind of use this as a pseudo parry for a large damage mechanic. Might be very useful in Mythic Plus. Over here, we have Reverberation. Spirit Bloom heals for an additional 30% over 8 seconds. That's our tier 2 set coming in for us, which is kind of nice. For each healing over time effect that you get from Spirit Bloom, you get bonus haste, which is very good stats. This one kills me. It's kind of goofy. You just get a random interval between 1 to 10 for cooldown reduction on your breath spells. So yeah, cast a fire breath. Hey, congratulations, have 6 seconds off. Why? And then down here is a very strong one. Either double time, your Dream Breath and Fire Breath will extend their own durations on crit, or time convergence. Any 45-second longer cooldown will give you 10% intellect for 15 seconds. Defensives will grant you 10% stamina for 15 seconds, which is pretty powerful, but when you combine this with Temporal Burst, Tip the Scales overloads you with Temporal Energy, increasing your haste, movement speed, and CDR by 2%, ramping up to 40% over 20 seconds. Very powerful move, and when you combine that with the one below it, that during a Temporal Burst, your empowered spells will give people Threads of Fate, which is an echo for their damage and healing spells, dealing 15% of the amount again. I haven't tested the proc rate, but if it's even remotely decent, this is going to turn into a good amount of damage, and I think will be quite fun to have in both Mythic Plus and in Raid. Then you can either extend those Threads of Fate with more essence spells, which will be a very fun way to show off your player's skill, but I also think that Golden Opportunity will do the same thing. Being able to have your echo not cost mana or essence means that you can potentially get even more out to make your comboing life and your mana life a little bit better. And finally, After Image. Empowered spells send up to 3 Chrono Flames to your targets. So once again, we're back with another tier set. where we'll shoot our living flames out after hitting an empowered spell. I really like the fact that some of our tier sets are showing up in these hero talents because they're quite fun to play with. I know people will enjoy those, but I can't pick between these two. I think I'm more towards Flameshaper because it has this puggability to it, this sense of control that you get to pick when you're doing the burst of damage or the burst of healing, and it's unbelievably potent if you play your cards right. Chronowarden feels a bit safer with more of its stats up front, but if you time your moves correctly, you can get a ton of value out of them. That makes it hard to choose which one. But if you were curious if Chronowarden or Flameshaper would be better, outside of some of the raw values that we might be getting, I actually don't think you have to pick one. I think that right now they both look really strong, so go with the fantasy you like the most, play around with them, and remember that we can just swap at any time. We are eating, Preservation fam, and I think this is going to be a wonderful expansion for us. If this is the foot we're starting on, I'm excited for it. Remember, numbers and values and all those stuff will be a little bit weird inside of the alpha space, especially because our item level was funky, and clearly we're on some oddball patch that is also the War Within, so I'm not going to judge it too harshly right now. I'm gonna let the alpha roll out, give them the feedback, and wait to hear back from the development team. But I mean it, this stuff is so much fun. And if you're interested in Aug and Dev, note that Preheat absolutely has you for the Dev content. Lots of cool stuff there. And for Aug, I'm sure we'll both be making videos, but the talent trees over there are also really good. I think the hero talents are fun, creative, and have a lot of potential. And maybe with some polishing up, I think will be just perfect. So that's gonna do it for me. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all very soon. Take care, friends.